Welcome, everyone, back to the Talk of Louisville. I'm Mike Mulready.
I'm Kellye Duckworth.
How was your weekend?
Good. Cold.
Nothing fancy, nothing fun?
I didn't do anything but laid on the couch. It was
Sometimes
great.
you need that. We went to, it was called the 90s party downtown Mercury Ballroom. It was a blast.
I was barely born in the 90s, so.
Yeah, I figured that. What,
Yeah,
96 or 97?
97.
97. Wow. I was 27 at that point.
I wouldn't say that out loud.
Actually, 7. I was only 7.
You're right. Yeah. No, yeah, you party more than I do, for sure.
Well, not much anymore. You know, the next morning is very difficult on me anymore. I tell you, I don't sleep well anyway, but drinking and waking up at 5 in the morning when you go to bed at 2 just didn't mix.
Mm-mm.
Well, you're kind of a lightweight anyway.
Thank you. No, I'm not. No, I am. It takes me 2 days to recover. I can't do it.
Well, see, I'm twice your age, so if it takes you twice as long to recover now, think of what it does with my age.
No.
So anyway, we got a great shout out sponsor with the Mold Hunters. If you've never worked with these folks, they're pretty amazing. We could have used them last year. Remember last year at Hideout, we had a little issue over in the back corner. Didn't know it, just the corner, so don't freak out. But it was taken care of, luckily. But if we'd have known about the Mold Hunters, we would have given them a ring. Fantastic folks.
Especially all the rain we just had recently.
Yeah, this is a good chance. I've been noticing people asking who waterproof basements. Of course, they might do everything. I don't know, but I know they will check for mold for you. They got these little devices walk around that goes off and it senses mold. So give them a call if you need them with all the rain we've had. Great folks, and I'm sure they do a great job for you.
All right, who do we have today with us?
Today, we have with Miss Ashley Dearinger. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Wonderful. Ashley is with I Would Rather Be Reading. We worked with them for probably over, is it 2 years now? I guess.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years.
I was trying to think of how long we've kind of worked together a little bit. Y'all do amazing things in the community, and every time I talk to you, you're talking about something new that you're doing with kids. So I thought it'd be a great idea to come in and kind of talk about what it is you all do and how you got started.
Yeah.
How did you all get started, actually? Allie's not here, your partner in crime.
Because there's always something new going on. So
yeah, there's no telling what you're doing.
Girl.
Oh, sorry, I kicked the wires. So how did you all get started and why? Yeah, I think both of you were teachers at one time. Is that correct?
Yes, we were both teachers. We met at Jacob Elementary, primary teachers, kindergarten, first, second grade. That was where we really loved to be, and just together met as young professionals and learned a lot about the science of teaching kids how to read and the impact of building relationships and how do we marry those two things to help kids feel successful in school.
Were both of you all reading teachers, or what did you teach before? I guess reading is a teacher's thing.
I feel like elementary, they teach all subjects, don't you?
Yeah, so we teach all subjects. So the story we always tell people about how we got started is a lot of times when you come out of college, which your wife was a teacher, at the time when we graduated in 2010, you just got placed at the school that needed the most teachers. A lot of times the schools that need the most teachers are the students who need the most help. Those are the schools that have the most openings. And so we were teaching first grade and all the subjects and realizing, okay, we have our degrees in education, but we don't necessarily know how to teach children to read. We know how to lesson plan. We know, we have this degree, but we don't understand the science behind that. So we went through our literacy certification together while we were classroom teachers. And, we just spent several years learning the specific research and strategies behind what is actually successful and what kids need.
So you are experts at it then.
Yes, we try.
I saw an article the other day, and I don't remember which news source, but it was basically talking about this person that I think they were 20-something years old, graduated all the way, and I believe through college. I half read it. I was kind of shocked at the age. But he ended up, and I don't know what school system it was, but he ended up suing the school system because he couldn't read. Is it possible to get through the school system and not know how to read or write? I was shocked by that. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't here. It wasn't here in Louisville, but it just caught me off guard.
You never know. Crazier things have happened. I just think that there are a lot of issues that families and kids, and especially our school systems, are dealing with right now. And we're trying, everybody's trying their best to tackle it. And so I think that it definitely can, especially when you have a kid who may have come from a different city, a different state, a different country. They're learning a new language. They have maybe some special learning needs, and their parents are trying to figure out how to advocate. Maybe their teachers are sometimes trying to learn how to advocate for them. A lot of times, holding a kid back isn't necessarily, it might hurt their self-esteem more. So I think as a school, we would push kids forward and say, what resources can we provide to help them get caught up? And then the goal is that all kids get caught up. Unfortunately, it sounds like that kid didn't. I also, in Allie, and I think a lot of us see, we see a lot of kids that are not reading proficient in our own city right now. And that's why I would rather be reading started. And when we pulled out of the school district and teaching, we said, how can we partner with our families? How can we partner with our schools to be an additional resource to help kids get the services they need?
So kind of lay it out. So the way it works, do kids sign up for a program? So pretty much everything you all do is free to the student and family. Is that correct?
Everything we do is 100% free.
Which requires a lot of donations. Hint, hint.
Yes.
Give the website real quick so they can be thinking about it.
I would rather be reading.org.
Okay. So if you want to help a kid learn to read and some of the other amazing things they do, go to that website, but go ahead and listen to what we're doing. So if a kid needs help reading, does it start there that a teacher might reach out to you and say, I got someone that'd be great for this program, or how does that work?
In the beginning, that's how it worked, because I Would Rather Be Reading was established in 2018. So we were still teachers at the time. We hadn't left JCPS yet. We had several friends, and still do, that are within our school system. So we would reach out to our teacher friends, our administrators, and say, hey, we're going to have this summer camp. Do you have any kids that would really benefit from this extra support of one-to-one or small group reading support? And we teach social skills, emotional skills. If kids are frustrated, and a lot of times, we always say behavior serves a purpose. If you have a kid and they cannot read and they're sitting in your classroom, that's frustrating. Behavior serves a purpose. So we teach, how do you have a healthy coping strategy if you are frustrated, and then how do you learn to read?
So explain that. When you say behavior, so if a kid starts acting up in class, they're probably doing it for attention because they're struggling with the material. Does that make sense, or is that fair to say?
It's a possibility. That might not 100% always be the reason, but it could be the reason. It could be other things as well, which is why it's important that we always put relationships first.
Mm-hmm.
And just figure out what is going on with this kid. How do you develop a trusting relationship? So if it's not the frustration with reading, what can we do to help them want to engage in the classroom, want to attend our after school program, so that they feel excited and confident and wanting to learn how to read? And then our after school program is called Educate and Elevate. So once kids learn how to read, how can we elevate their experience? What can we expose them to? What opportunities can we expose them to, so that they can start to break cycles as they get older, and have, a successful career?
Yeah, we've talked about kids before, and if we don't give kids the opportunity to educate themselves and learn what else is out there off their street, then they're never going to understand the other positive things in the world that they can do with their life. And I really think that's a huge part. And you are trying to address some of that as well. Don't y'all go on field trips and things like that?
We do lots of field trips, and the field trips really are dependent on the school or the community center that we're in and what opportunities are available. We don't have funding for every single after-school program to get the same thing. So, for example, we will look at what partnerships are available to us, and knowing our kids, again, like what they're most interested in. And so, say if we had, over winter, we did a partnership with Louisville Academy of Music. We knew that our kids at our Atkinson Elementary site were really interested in music,
Mm-hmm.
and that they were excited about, they hadn't been on a field trip yet. So we offered them that opportunity where we partnered with Louisville Academy of Music. They came in and taught them about different instruments, taught them different songs. We went on that field trip to the Fraser History Museum. They got to sing in front of the community. We provided their family with dinner. They all were on the bus together. We got to build trust with the family, with the school, with the kids, and they got to use their literacy skills and put it in an arts experience, and then exposes them, do I want to use my literacy skills and engage in this arts career growing up, or maybe it was just a fun hobby?
That's a lot. So who paid for that?
Shirley's Way.
That's not the answer I was looking for, but thank you. I guess my point is, that's a lot for a kid, and that stuff's not free.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And the support you all need in the community is huge. So, everybody says everything should be free, and that's just not realistic. But somebody had to pay for what you all just did for the experience that you all gave those kids. A lot of kids are in sports, but music is such a powerful tool for kids to think outside the box and be creative. So you all gave them a pretty good experience for that.
We did. And we try to make sure that there are lots of opportunities for different, some kids are interested in arts and music and some aren't. So this summer we are partnering with Louisville Orchestra to do the music camp.
Did y'all see, we were at the GLI, you were there, did you see the Louisville Orchestra guy get his award?
Yes, saw him get his
Yeah,
award.
it's incredible.
And those opportunities I was watching that and thinking, this is so exciting. Like, those could be our kids up there one day saying, maybe they're going to be in the orchestra. Maybe they're going to have the opportunity to interact with some of the best musicians in our city because of partnerships like that, and think, what is this a career I want to explore? We also are going to do a sports camp with Lou City this year. We are going to have a cooking camp in partnership with Sullivan. Trying to think our other.
How do y'all keep up with all this stuff? I feel like we do a lot, but nothing like the programs you are putting together.
Well, because once you can read, it really does open the door to so many opportunities. And so that is what we're trying to get our kids to understand. Maybe you do not want to go home and read a book every single night once you get this skill down and you are fluent. But what opportunity can this bring for you? And so if they don't know, then then we want to show them what's out there.
Well, and I honestly don't remember when I learned to read, but I guess it starts in kindergarten, right? Like you start the basics.
Be careful, everybody's going to learn fast.
I know. So
it starts even before kindergarten. And I think that's why there's such a big push for early childhood now, which we don't have early childhood services.
So what's your age group?
In the belly.
Yeah.
Seriously, we started reading to our kids when my wife was pregnant, and they came out geniuses. And I really think that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Don't they hear it?
They hear it, yes. Yeah. Our programs are focused on, right now, primarily 1st through 5th. We've dabbled into middle school, and we're hoping to add more middle school programming. But that is one of the factors when you talking about the gap that we're trying to fill in reading proficiency, just the importance of language and kids having exposure to books, kids being read to, people having conversations with their kids before they get to that learning to read phase, nursery rhymes, things like that. Because learning to read, there's a big push. I don't know if you've seen anything about the reading wars, but science of reading is just so important. It takes away all of the guessing work. And it's just, how does your brain learn to decode words? And so to do that, you have to hear sounds and speech. And kids hear sounds and speech by being spoken to and being read to. So that is really how kids prepare to be readers.
I remember being in elementary school, you got to take those little AR tests. Where you oh my gosh, that was the best thing ever. Because I'm reading on a 5th grade level and I'm only in 3rd grade, or whatever.
Well, with what you just said, how do you make it cool?
That was awesome.
I've always, you see the kids in sports, and I love sports, so I'm not picking on sports, but you see them honored when they win championships, and that's great. So how do you make it exciting for kids to want to read? How do you make it exciting for kids to use their minds and maybe be on the chess team, or I
think the camps. I'm just thinking the camps you just said. So culinary or whatever, you're gonna have to learn to read the recipe. Read the ingredients, or you go to a sporting event or whatever and you got to read the score. Things like that, I guess that could.
You are so creative in the activities that you do to build in reading, and the kids probably don't even know that they're learning to read while they're doing that.
They don't. And that was a mind shift for us, because we are teachers at heart. And so when we shifted to that after school summer space, it was, kids don't have to come. Parents don't have to send them.
Sounds like they want to.
We have to make them excited to be there. Not make them, that sounds, but we have to encourage them and make it a place where kids want to be and parents want to send their children.
Yeah, I think if you get a kid gets up in the morning and says, "I can't wait to go to a school and reading program," that's a win. And I think you have some kids in that category right now, right? They just get excited when they get there.
They love to be there. Yeah, they love to be there. They love
Plus,
their
y'all are
teacher.
paying attention to them. You're hugging on them, loving on them, which a lot of these kids may or may not have at home anyway.
Exactly. And we also started a program this year for the first time at Atkinson Elementary where our tutors are pushing in during the school day. So in the some circumstances, if they cannot stay after school for our programs, then that kid, we're not able to meet their needs for whatever reason because we don't have transportation home. So most of the time it helps our families, especially if they're staying after school and their parents are still at work. But if it's a barrier because of transportation that we're keeping them and then they can't get home, we were missing those kids. So now we're sending tutors during the day to Atkinson, and the results have been really great. And they have loved that. That's the feedback we get. Their little eyes just glow or they light up when they say, "Oh, my tutor's coming to get me. Are you picking me up today? Are you picking me up today?" And we have 3 tutors over there now, and the kids are making amazing, amazing growth and same benefits as out of school program. We're doing some special field trips with them, but just during the school day.
That's pretty incredible. So what's it look like? We started leaning into that for a second, but say you've identified kids at school and they've got signed up for your program. So where does it go from there? Do you all go to the school? Do you go to outside facility and they have to get there? Then you all work with them for an hour or two? What's that look like?
So we partner with the school. We really want to make it as easy as possible.
Right.
If we're in the school day, they sign up via our form, and then we say we take it from there. We ask the school to distribute our flyers. We are going to have an after-school program. We partner with each site and say, who are we targeting? Do we want to work with K through 2? Do we want to work with 3 through 5? Are we working with all the grade levels? Once we figure out who the program is offered to, then we can have about 20 to 25 kids that we put on our registration list, and then we sign them up from there. We contact the families. We have all the permission slips, and we really just want to take that work off of the school or the site, the community center, and say, let us handle that for you and be a true partner. And so at the community center sites, it's the same thing. We partner with specific schools that we know, like, okay, if we're at South Louisville Community Center, the closest school is Simple Elementary and Fraser Elementary. So then we have a van that goes to those 2 schools. So then we'll just communicate that and say, hey, we have this after school program. We have a van that can fit 15 kids. Can you send out this flyer? We'll take it from there. And then we just pick kids up and bring them to the community center.
They usually fill the slots then pretty fast, I would say, or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty fast. And then if we have openings, then we'll let them know, and then we'll go to the wait list.
So I sent you a text on the way here. It said, think of some stats. And I don't want to put you on the spot if you couldn't think of anything, but I know you know numbers. So what are some stats on reading?
I told you I'd rather be reading. Numbers aren't my thing, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I mean, give me one. What's something that we could really think, wow, we've got to really increase these programs to get kids on a little better footing? Because I don't know who said it, but if you educate a person, you free that person, I guess. Is that a Martin Luther King thing, or what was it? You know what I'm talking about?
Who said the quote, but it sounds right.
Yeah,
it sounds right.
That was close.
I think, and I'm pulling this off the top of my head, so please, do not hold me to this. I'm pretty sure the latest numbers I read said that about 23% of kids in Louisville are reading proficient and be 12% distinguished, which means there is a lot of room for improvement, a lot of kids that need our support.
Say that again. 23% are proficient in reading?
Yes, and about 12% distinguished. Now, that's across our city.
What's distinguished mean? That they can read at a certain level?
At the highest level, yeah.
Wow. That sounds awful low to me.
It means it means we have a lot of work to do. A lot. You were just at our breakfast on Thursday,
which was fun.
Thank you so much. We had a great turnout. So we're in nine schools and 2 community centers right now. We have the capacity to serve about 300 kids in the after school setting. We know we would love for every 1 kid that we're currently serving, we would love to be able to serve 3 more.
Wow.
I'm just thinking about that number though. So 23% is proficient. Mm-hmm. So just 23 out of 100 kids are proficient. Yep. So you got, what's your math on that, Kellye? 77%. 77 kids aren't proficient.
But 12 are distinguished.
Yeah, that's still low.
Yeah.
That's still low. Yep. That's crazy. What's the barrier? Is it, I know and we're going to have them on the podcast, the Adding Baylor Kirchengessner organization here in Louisville. Their goal is to give a book to every kid in Louisville, kind of like Dolly Parton does in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Is it because kids don't have books at home and they're not reading? Or is it the parents aren't paying attention to them? Or, I mean, do you have any idea why we're in this situation?
I think there are a lot of contributing factors, but it is one of the reasons that we love to partner with Shirley's Way. There's not ever just, I don't think there's just one thing that we can say, this is the reason kids are behind in reading or that the kids need extra support. And most of the time, I would say there's probably multiple contributing factors. I do know that when kids' basic needs are not met, it is very hard for them to even focus.
Mm-hmm.
Basic needs, hunger.
You're hungry, you're tired.
Exactly. So when you all are supporting our after school programs, and I know you're also doing work in the community, like addressing the unhoused community and providing food, like you all provide snacks to our kids at Hazelwood to take home every weekend. Mm-hmm. Those things are so important because if kids are worried about having their basic needs met on a day-to-day basis, then it's very, very hard for them to use those executive functioning skills that they need to learn how to read. There's just a lot of, especially multi-language learners that are in our city right now, and it's a huge increase. I know that in some of our schools, there's over 20 languages that are being spoken. Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Do you all have translators? Like, do you teach them to read English?
We do not have translators. That's actually one of the credentials that we're working on finding professional development for. I know that is why our approach to reading tutoring is so important, because with our multi-language learners, we're taking a look at, it's just highly visual, giving them the word and then using the science of reading based techniques to teach them how to hear the sounds in words, connect those sounds to symbols, learn how to read and spell in our language. But a lot of it, could be contributed to, some of our kids have learning differences. Some of them are dealing with being a multi-language learner. Some of their basic needs are not being met, and some of them have high exposure to trauma. And a lot of our kids are just living in neighborhoods that are historically under-resourced, and we have to provide those resources as a community. And I think that's one of the things that Shirley's Way and I Would Rather Be Reading both are doing a great job at providing.
Yeah, we've got to give these kids a little bit better base, because if they have some trauma and they don't get past that, they're just going to pass that trauma on to the next generation. Mm-hmm. And it's a horrible cycle that if we don't figure out how to get out of, we're going to be doomed in the next 10 to 15 years, because kids just aren't. If they've got trauma, they're not interested. They're in survival mode a lot of times.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of that when I was teaching, and that's really what started all I Would Rather Be Reading. Is I would sit down, and when I came out of the classroom and I was a reading interventionist, I would sit in my group and I would have this very well laid lesson plan that I was like, we're going to do A, B, and C today. And I know that we're going to make this kid's just going to rock and roll. And then, they would come in and just have to tell me something that had happened the night before, completely unprompted. And sometimes it was things that were going on in their personal life at home. Sometimes it was just things that they had seen on the news. Sometimes it was things that were happening in their neighborhood and they were just exposed to, and creating a sense of, I'm not safe. And we have to provide a space to address it and heal from it and break the cycle.
Yeah, a friend of mine, she was a teacher, and she said towards the end of the school year, there was a kid that was a phenomenal kid, did really well in school, and threw a fit the last day of school. Temper tantrum, cried, kicked, screamed. They almost had to drag him down the hallway to get him on the bus. He refused to get on the bus. And when they finally pulled him to the side, he said, if I go home, there's no food at home. He said, if I go home for summer break, there's no food for me to eat. This is the only place I eat. That broke my heart. I just can't fathom a kid, and this was an elementary school, that dealt with food issues. And it affected them because they didn't want to get on the bus and go home. So I just wonder how many kids are in that situation. Or I used to work pretty closely with in another school, and she'd say, yeah, we had 2 kids this weekend that slept on the floor because there was drive-by shootings in their neighborhood, and they didn't sleep in the bed. They had to sleep on the floor. And that's the reality for a lot of kids.
A lot of kids, more than your average person. I think we can even comprehend, like, if you're not doing the work every day, if you're not living in the neighborhoods where that's happening, it's hard to even,
fathom what they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to tell when I was a trauma trainer, and I still train trauma for my own staff, but I would drive, past I live by Airquays Park, and I would drive from Airquays Park to my school, and on the way there, just in our own neighborhood, I can't help because it's just what I'm passionate about, observing just different things that I would see. And the amount of times I would see, like, if someone had been evicted in front of, like, there was apartments that were surrounded our school. And I would go to school and think, very possibly one of our kids is living in the apartment. I know. Like, I know our kids live in those apartments, and that could potentially be their home. Yeah. And their parents love them so much. And, like, the pride it must have taken if they were to come and tell us that their parents might have told us that happened, or they might not have. A lot of times we would hear it from the kid if they sat down at my reading table. Mm-hmm. And then we would reach out and ask if we could provide assistance. But I would tell my teachers, if you were to go home and your stuff be sitting on the front lawn, would you be able to come in here tomorrow and just focus? Yeah. If you weren't sure where you were going to go live, like
your toys, your clothes, your books,
no, it would
everything.
Be completely devastating. Yeah. And so many of our kids are in that situation, and our parents too. And they're in this cycle where I will see them just trying and trying and trying, and it's like they just can't get caught up. They just can't catch a break to the point where they were afraid or they felt ashamed to ask for help almost. And so that's why we have people all the time say, well, why don't you charge? People have to be invested in the programs. And I'm just like, you know what? I have 3 kids. I know what it costs to raise kids. If I'm a single mom and I have 3 kids and I know what it costs to pay rent, I know what groceries cost right now, I do not believe if I have the ability to keep our programs free that we should be asking parents to pay a mortgage for an after-school program when they're worried about how am I going to pay for rent and groceries right now. That doesn't make sense to me.
I think if you had the charge with the clientele you're dealing with, you would lose every kid that's in your program. Because most of them are barely making it to begin with. And then if they had to pay $500-$600 a month for a reading program, they wouldn't be able to afford it. And I totally get it. Nothing's for free, and everybody should pay their share. But you're dealing with some pretty sensitive kids that wouldn't have an opportunity to better themselves if you all weren't offering this. I think the perfect world, and you've probably thought of this, is try and find businesses to sponsor each school you're at. And you may already be doing that, but how cool would it be to see Meyer is sponsoring Jacob Elementary and those kids that need reading programs, and, UPS is sponsoring Kenwood. You know what I mean? That would be an ideal program if we could figure that out.
That is a model that we are trying to work on right now, because that is what it's going to take if we continue, and that is our goal. We want to be around for the long haul for our city and our kids and families.
It's also the future. I mean, what are these kids going to do if they grow up and they can't read and can't get jobs? Then everybody's going to be mad that nobody wants to work.
Yeah, what are we as a society going to
do?
Yeah, what are we as a society?
Right.
Talking about that GLI, I go to all these, like, State of Downtown and the Prosper meetings and all of it. I get so excited because I love this city so much. But I'm like, our kids are our future. Like, what are we going to be in the next 5 years? None of those plans work if we're not investing in our kids, because our kids are the ones who have to make those things possible. They have to be able to fill our careers and our jobs and purchase homes. And, we have to prepare them for that.
Yeah, we're definitely on an interesting cycle in the world over the past few years to just, people don't have the money for extras. And unfortunately, being able to pay for their kid to have additional help to read is probably not in the budget as we talk. So I see both sides of it, but you're in a world where, in an environment where the people wouldn't have the extra money to spend on that. But I just wish we could figure out how to get businesses to rally around these schools and help you all out. And I think it'll happen. I do. I really do. You are pretty creative in how you all convince people to help you all out. So
we try. We do have an opportunity coming up in April for businesses to sponsor.
What's that?
Towards the end of the year. So we are shifting away from gala style fundraising. Thank God.
Why? Why?
Mike's excited.
Let's talk about it.
I'm curious.
Let's
Why?
talk about it. Gala style fundraising is historically just the way nonprofits have been told we have to raise money.
Yep.
And I feel like we've done a great job at meeting wonderful people. We bring in corporate partners, but so much money is put out into just hosting the event, and you have to make it look nice. And if people pay money for these tables, then they want the experience that they're paying for. And it's so much time is dedicated.
Yeah, let's spit that out, because so if you find a location that you can bring in your own food and drinks, that's one ball game, but there's not many around. So if you have to rent out a space in a hotel, for example, I'm not picking on hotels, it could cost you $5,000-$10,000 up front just to rent the space. And then you got to pay for the food and the drinks, and you could be easily out $40,000 to $50,000 before the first dollar's raised. And unless you get an active audience, which I've been to several of these, you don't have a lot of people raising the paddle, bidding $5,000-$6,000 on things. It's very difficult to get the people that can come that have the money to spend on that stuff. So that's the problem with galas. And if you've got a built-in gala over the years, great. I hope it's working out for you, but it's very difficult to start one from scratch.
Yeah, from scratch. And we did, for 6 years, our gala really got the job done. I just think that.
But it was a trivia more
it was
than
a trivia.
Yeah.
And then we found out, people really just wanted to kind of hang out and have fun afterwards. And at the end of the day, what we found out was people just want to support our mission. They were there because they were our partners that believed in the mission, and they wanted to support the kids. And it took every bit of 4 months, 5 months, all of my time, and Allie can't be here today, but to recruit the sponsors, plan the event. Mm-hmm. So from
beg, not recruit, beg.
Yeah, beg, plead, all the things. So, I'm like, this is 4 months we could be spending making sure our programs are as effective as possible, recruiting new students, really focus on the mission, but we're planning a gala.
Yeah.
And so to us, we just thought it was a no-brainer. It's kind of time to shift away.
So you're shifting away from galas. So what is your new way to potentially, you got something coming up in the summer we were talking about. Sorry, I love galas. They're fun, but people don't understand how expensive they are. And unless you get people come in that's willing to donate with an open checkbook, it's very difficult to raise money.
Well, to be honest, there's not another party. There's no gala. There's not that. So we're going to keep our regular fund. We have Gift for Good Louisville and our Golf Scramble and Lights on Main. Those are all boots on the ground fundraisers that I feel our volunteers and sponsors can still participate in, but they're not as time consuming on the development end. But we do. We still want something in the spring, and we don't want to take away the opportunity that the gala, it was a Triple Crown Trivia Derby themed gala. And it used to provide opportunity to our kids because we would get all of them Pegasus pins so that if they wanted to get into the events for free, like Thunder over Louisville, if you go to Thunder, you have to have that pin to go out onto the waterfront. Or the chow wagon or any of those things. It gets expensive, especially if the pins are, I think, $12 retail. So we've kept our partnership with Kentucky Derby Festival for the pins.
Which is totally different from Kentucky Derby. That's not even part of the Kentucky Derby.
It's not part, no.
It's an outside organization that created a festival to get people to come out and enjoy themselves before Derby week.
Exactly.
I didn't know that. So
I just learned that.
Yep. It's completely different. So we're going to have our little pins that just say Happy Derby, because our kids have all for the last 4 years always gotten their own Derby pins. And that is part of the partnership and the sponsorship that came with our gala. So we're just.
I was to say, didn't you give it out at the trivia?
Yeah, we gave them out at trivia. Yeah. So we're going to keep that portion of it, and we're going to ask businesses to sponsor each site to still have their Derby Festival pins so that our kids and their families can still have access to those events without the cost. I mean, they'll still, have to pay for their own food or drink or whatever, but just being able to get in without the cost of buying the pin is nice. And then that will also, those sponsorships will help us plan their end of the year celebrations in their tutoring for that last month of May. So
pretty incredible stuff you are doing.
How'd you come up with the name? I feel like you've told that before, but I cannot remember.
Yeah, it's always a fun story. I would rather be reading, kind of what we were just talking about. When people hear the name, they say, "Oh, I would rather be reading too," because I love to read and Allie loves to read. But that is not why we named I Would Rather Be Reading that. That was because when I was training trauma, and I would talk to my staff, teachers, whoever it was I was training, and I would hear all the things and all the behaviors that were happening. And or sometimes I'd be coaching and I would bring kids back and I would have conversations and just say, the kids don't want to run out of your classroom. They don't want, you don't wake up in the morning and say, I want to run out of the building and have you call my parent, or I don't want to get in a fight today. Who wakes up and says that's what they want to happen? They would rather be reading, but X, Y, and Z has happened. So it's just that reminder of why aren't they reading and why are we here?
Yeah, it's a great tagline and a name. I'm sure you saw those commercials where it says, one day when I grow up, I'm going to be, they were being sarcastic. I want to be a drug dealer. Well, nobody ever says that,
Nobody ever says that. Nobody wakes up and is like, I want to have the worst day of my life today. I want my teacher to call home. Nobody wants that. Nobody woke up saying they want to have a bad day.
That's a great tagline and a name. So you've heard that over and over. You just made it the name of your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I'm the least creative person ever. I'm a very
I don't know. I see it differently. Y'all say that before, but y'all come up with some of the best ideas on things.
Every time we come up with a program, they're like, "What are you going to name this?" I'm like, "Summer camp." It's going to be summer camp because it's summer camp. It's going to be after school program.
But if you call it summer reading camp, they probably won't come because they think it's not fun. So if you just call it, let's see, that's creative.
Yeah, I try.
Well, give out the website one more time so people know. Do you offer monthly donor programs and stuff like that on the website?
Yes, please visit our website. It's www.iwouldratherbereading.org. You can learn about our after school programs. You can learn about our different fundraisers. There's the donate button. We are on a mission to get 75 monthly donors. That's one of the things that we're trying to do to get site sponsored. $11.25 a day is what it takes to send a kid to camp. So that is we're trying to get 75 donors who will donate $11.25 a month.
That's pretty incredible. Wow. So we got a donation. So you all helped us this year with our Cabo Wabo party, and we agreed to a percentage, but we rounded it up to $10,000 to help get you all up and going. So there you go. Don't spend it all in one place. And so hopefully 10,000 will help with at least one of your schools this year.
Oh my gosh!
And I know it's very expensive for what y'all do.
This is so exciting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there a specific program that you want it to go to?
It doesn't. We trust what you all do with.
Well, just in for my understanding, what does $10,000 get you? Would that send a kid all year to your program? Would it send them for the summer? Would it?
$10,000 would send 2 kids to a full year's worth of after school program and summer camp.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hopefully we can do more with you this year. We've got some hurdles we've ran into that we're working through, but once we get through those, we'd be glad to sit down and talk about what else we can do to help with your programming because again, if we don't get these kids on the right track with learning, reading, math, there's another group in town.
Do you have a math program?
Kellye wants to sign up for that one.
We are starting math. We are actually training for our math pilot Wednesday night if the snow cooperates.
I don't know what you're teaching. Basic math, obviously, but man, we got to teach kids how to spend their money when they grow up because if not, they're all going to be bankrupt by the time they're 18 years old. So
I shared something on Facebook yesterday and it said something when you're taking a test and everybody pulls out the calculator and you thought the answer was Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, that was so me.
I told everybody I would rather
I don't get it.
Well, and it was a math problem, and they're all figuring out the math problem, and I'm thinking it's a history answer, because I'm just not.
Yeah, I saw that post, and I was lost on it for a minute.
Or it's like the answer was 1005, but I came up with 1015, so that was close enough. So I just
rounded up.
You're like, it's got to be that one.
That was me.
I was just off a digit.
Oh my gosh!
But see, the people that can argue that it's close enough probably turn out to be attorneys because we're close enough. Close enough.
Let me show you how I came up with that.
Let me show you how. Somebody's got to be good at everything. Like numbers is not my thing, but I know that kids need that. So
they started adding letters in there too and shapes, and then I was really out.
Well, my kids, and I hate to say it, they're geniuses. They've all been reading since they were babies, and they get that from my wife. She's the smart one in the family. I have a hard time with reading. I can't. I'll read 2 pages and have to read them 5 times to remember what I read. And that's probably just too many
40,000 things going on.
Well, yeah, but that's probably all the concussions I've had over the years. Back then we thought it was cool to get a concussion, but it's not so cool when you realize what it does to your brain. Well, when you play football, you oh man, I got my bell rung. That was great.
Back in the 50s when they didn't have very good helmets.
Leather helmets, is that what you're saying?
Playing with actual pigskin.
Yeah.
I'm just joking, Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm old. I get it. Yeah, but that you thought it was cool to be hit, and I got up and not realize your brain is scrambling. So I don't know if I had anything to do, but I really struggle with reading. So maybe I need to sign up for one of your programs.
I'm sure we got somebody that
can you take a 35-year-old and sign them up for your program?
I can. I mean, bring it on.
Yeah.
We have we've learned a new term. It is age agnostic. So we are working very hard to make sure that we have so many kids who are 5th and 6th grade, but they're reading developmentally somewhere kindergarten, 1st grade level. So making sure that all of our materials and lessons really are just pretty across the board. They don't seem too kiddie. We want everybody to feel comfortable and not like, I don't want to be here. This is embarrassing.
So last question. So the books you see for years, like Dr. Seuss and these, my kids really love the Bernstein Bears and all those things. Are all those are they designed creatively to get kids to think a little harder when they're I don't know. You see all those Dr. Seuss books and rhyming words and all that stuff. Is that designed specifically for helping kids? And that's an off-the-wall question, so I don't know if you can answer that.
I should probably be able to answer that one a little bit better. I think that they're designed to be fun for kids and to make kids think like this is a silly book. And
but they're reading the words.
They're easy to hear. That rhyming part is such a huge deal when you're learning to read and sound and speech. So, but I think specifically the ones you're talking about with Dr. Seuss are supposed to just be fun and silly and engaging for kids.
Get them to open a book.
And getting to open a book.
Yeah.
And they're easy to read along. And if you ever, you have a toddler, like if you ever had your toddler pick up a book and they're like, it's upside down or it's, maybe they're reading it because you've read it so many times that they've memorized it, but they're not really reading.
Yeah, she's done that before. She'll pick up a book and she'll say something about she's looking at the picture basically, but it sounds like she's reading, but she's just explaining what she's seeing on the page. And I'm like,
yeah, but she's a little genius.
I know, it kind of scares me. I'm like, oh my gosh,
those are
reading.
the first signs of learning to read. Yeah, but those types of books are getting kids to think about words and hearing sounds.
Well, last tip. So as Avery gets older, as my kids got older, I wasn't aware that they could read yet. So me and my wife would send funny messages back and forth. And yeah. So my oldest daughter picked up Mama's phone and was reading it. And we're like, oh my God, she knows how to read. So it's weird how they just learn how to read and
that's awesome.
No words. So be careful what you send.
Yeah. That realization.
Okay, Avery picks up your phone.
I know, right?
I can't spell it out anymore.
But they sure learn fast. So. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for being here. What you are doing for the community is pretty incredible. Website one more time, and let's see if we can get people to pay attention to what you're doing.
Okay. www.iwouldratherbrereading.org. And thank you. Thank you all so much for having me.
Of course.
And I know Allie wanted to be here.
Yeah, we miss her.
Well, you, Allie.
I think if you can do anything, obviously support us. We help I Would Rather Be Reading, but I think it's a good opportunity for local businesses to align themselves with a partner in the community that is truly impacting kids. So once they get that out, we'll share it, and I would love to see local businesses partner and pick up and sponsor a school for kids.
Because they're going to be upset when their future employees can't read.
Yeah.
Exactly. And support Shirley's Way. There's not been a partner that has stepped up as much as Shirley's Way has in a long time. We mean that.
Appreciate that. We
are so grateful for you all.
We love, again, like you said, boots on the ground. We try to support anything that we firmly believe in that's having an impact in the community. So there you go.
In it together.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.